Holy smokes, 2.1's banners are looking insane, so it can be hard to decide who to spend your precious Astrites on. So today, I aim to help you decide who to spend your Astrites on. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. Quick note, this video serves as a quick TLDR on whether these units are worth it for you or not. I'll be making more in-depth individual pros and cons videos for each upcoming character. Alright, let's go. Phoebe is honestly shaping up to be a very impressive unit, based on what we have officially seen from Kuro Games so far. We haven't witnessed much, but from what we do know, she's going to be the first limited 5-star user of a Spectral Frazzle set. Her entire kit is based around DOT, and she is a DOT DPS. What's important to denote is that she herself is the DPS, not the enabler. Also, she has a sub-DPS mode too. However, upon her release, it's not really going to matter all that much because there's no teams that can take great advantage of it. There is Changli quick swap for a sub-DPS mode, but otherwise, her DPS mode is going to be the main focus when she comes out. So as it stands, she is already extremely potent, but is lacking her full team as it stands, meaning that her future potential is really large. However, pulling characters on how good they might become is a little shaky. So why don't we delve more into her current value? Her best in-slot team upon release is going to be a very free-to-play friendly accessible team. Phoebe, Sanhua, and Spectral Rover. The reason as to why Sanhua's basic percent isn't useless is because the lovely Acolyte grants herself a ton of heavy percent already, making even more of that a bit redundant. She also deals some basic attack damage too, meaning that those buffs are neat, because that way, you're covering for her entire main damage profile. That's not even mentioning her splendidly quick Concerto rotation, plus the attack percent you can yield out of her S6 if you have it. Then, you have the free Spectral Rover. You want enemies to have constant Spectral Frazzle application on them so that Phoebe can activate her self-buffs, making Spectral Rover a must, quite frankly. This can pose an issue to accounts who have heavily geared their teams around Havoc Rover. Both Havoc and Spectral Rover share Vigor counts, meaning that you can't just swap them around if you want to use both, sadly. So you will have to find a replacement for your Havoc Rover in any teams that you've structured around them specifically. Otherwise, aside from that main drawback, Phoebe is actually shaping up to be one of the most free-to-play friendly DPSs in the entire game. Her power level is completely through the roof, despite working primarily with 4-star teammates. She appears to be very easy to understand, making her super accessible to players of all skill levels. But we'll have to wait for more official footage from Kuro to confirm that. It seems like Kuro has a thing for releasing absurdly powerful Spectral ladies with straightforward kits, huh? She's shaping up to be a carry that's good in any scenario, no matter the content. Because she deals in DOT, she'll be more comfortable in multi-wave as opposed to Jinshi, because her damage is sustained over time as opposed to being front-loaded all at once, so that makes her a very neat choice for those scenarios. Also, I'd like to mention that you did not waste Astrites if you pulled for Jinshi recently. They are both able to coexist easily on an account, because they use different teammates. Also, a small thing that I'd like to mention is that it appears that Phoebe can freeze enemies for a short period of time. This was only shown for a very brief period against the Hecate boss in the livestream, so we'll need more on that. Take that with a grain of salt. But if that ends up being true, and she can immobilize enemies the way that Carlotta can with her skill, that only further contributes to Phoebe's ease of use. For the value rankings of this patch, she's going into S. Easily. Absolutely Nutella packed with value. I have faith in this faithful lady. Then we move on to another absolutely brilliant character, and one that quite a large number of people appear to be hyped for, including myself for the record, Brant Wuthering Waves, the guy, the dude, the yar matey yeehaw, actor dude, Brant Wuthering Waves. He's going to be an absolute banger of a unit. To be honest, his absurdly cool kit animations should be reason enough to pull for the lad, but if you need more convincing, then let's delve into what we currently know about the guy. So the insane thing about this dude is that he is a jack of many trades, but master of them all. Yeah, he does like 50 different things, while being able to do all of those things well. So for starters, he appears to be a dual carry-esque unit, so a first slot teammate in a Changli team. He is most likely going to end up being our best in slot partner, with the two really enjoying quick swap between each other, so we can look forward to a lot of skill expression with his character, which personally gets me pretty hyped, as an avid Changli enjoyer myself. So, damage! Great! However, it doesn't end there. Oh no, this guy heals as well. Yeah, you know how your Shorekeeper and Verena are stretched incredibly thin across your TOA teams? Well, fear not, because Mr. Brant Wuthering Waves heals while doing all the rest of his shenanigans, so he doubles as both a dual carry DPS and healer. Now in fairness, you usually use Shorekeeper and Verena for their buffs, not only their heals. But the point does stand that you will have sustenance in your team with him around, therefore making it easier to build your other TOA teams, because you don't have to use either of those two in order to have a competent healer around. You thought we were done here? Come on, man. Haven't you read his resume? Clown, pirate, actor, swordsman, buffer. Yeah, that last one right there. Buffer. He buffs too. This only exemplifies his synergy with Changli. So far, we've been having to make do with putting that intelligent Phoenix lady alongside characters who are pretty good with quick swap, such as Changli Yao, but we had no perfect synergy. Now, we indeed have a perfect synergy for the lady, in the form of a Pirate Actor. He'll provide fusion and skill damage amplification with his outro skill, which are both excellent buffs for the Phoenix lady, not to mention powerful buffs. Yes, we are about to see the Changli buff of the century, everybody. Though, it is worth noting that if Brant's outro buff gets cancelled when Changli swaps out, you're probably going to want to use his outro on her when you've got max inflamement stacks. Or when you're close to max so that you can make the most use out of those buffs. Or when you have her ult up, you get the idea. Either way, they'll both still be excellent partners for one another, even if that ends up being the case. Something really cool about Brant is that you don't actually need Changli in order to make good use out of him. This is because he can actually act as a replacement for Changli too, working in place of where she would normally be in teams. For example, instead of using Changli in an Encore team, you could get away with using Brant instead. So that way, if you're not particularly interested in pulling for the Phoenix lady that'll be running alongside him, you'll still be able to make great use out of him on your account. Also, while I understand the gameplay subjective, come on. Crazy aerial attacks with a grappling hook? I believe he is shaping up to be the most fun character in Wuthering Waves. I'm already a huge Changli enjoyer, so I would not be surprised if this guy joined my everyday team. Cons-wise, I would say signature weapon reliance, seeing as he's such a unique unit, so I doubt that currently existing 5-star swords would really do much for him, but this seriously isn't that big of a deal, because you might as well say that about every Wuthering Waves limited 5-star, there's not really anyone who isn't sig reliant to a certain degree. Another negative drawback is that quick swapping is a fairly difficult playstyle. He won't be that beginner friendly. I'd say Phoebe's a better choice if you're somebody who's just starting out, and is very unfamiliar with the deeper Wuthering Waves mechanics. Especially because you'd want to pull Changli in order to access his absolute best in slot team. Sure, she's running next to him, and if you explore most of the map and do most of the game's content, you could easily get both of them, even assuming 50-50 losses if you were to grind hard enough. But then, you gotta learn how to actually play the units. Once again, I would like to throw in there that Brant can indeed be a Changli replacement, but his best in slot setup is most likely going to be with Changli. S tier for the value rankings of this patch. I'm putting him below Phoebe because you do kind of want Changli in order to fully take advantage of his value, but this dual carry team is most likely going to be stupidly strong upon his release, and I wouldn't be surprised if it became one of the best in the game when played by skilled hands. Then finally, we reach the lady who plans with convention and conquers with ingenuity. She also happens to be one of my favorite characters in this game. I mean, look at her. The embodiment of beauty and intelligence. There's a whole lot to love here. She's got some great features too, if you know what I mean. Okay, so moving on from her amazing plot, she's a really interesting character, because her value is extremely dynamic in relation to player skill. If you're good at using her, she becomes one of the best characters on your account. If you suck at using her, she's one of the biggest wastes of Astrites that you've ever invested in. You need to be willing to learn quick swap, or at least understand her more complex rotations in certain teams, in order to fully appreciate her value, because that's what she's entirely built around. The average player is not going to be able to really enjoy Changli. Her outro skill doesn't really have any huge users either, aside from Encore, but she prefers to play with Sanhua anyway, so unless you're trying to free up Sanhua for another team, that's not all that relevant. Chixia can use it too, but she's a very niche pick, only used by her most dedicated fans. Brant is going to be a huge buff to your value. There is a reason as to why Kuro Games are running the pair together in the second half. They are a match made in the Imperator-ordained heaven. Kuro is smart. They ran Jojo alongside the esteemed Montelli Lady Carlotta as well, so if you're somebody that already has a Changli, then good news if you're a Brant Wuthering Waves fan, because she'll be picking up in value a lot if you're pulling for the Pirate Lad. She did also recently gain Carlotta Quick Swap, which admittedly is a very good team, but only, once again, if you're a good player who is willing to learn it. Very fun comp though, I find myself using it quite often. And it's also a great way to play a strong Carlotta team if you ended up missing out on the silly paint or Jojo. With all that in mind, I only recommend her if you're either a high skill player, if you're willing to become a high skill player, or if you're a big Brant Wuthering Waves fan. She also has signature weapon reliance, but wow. Big shocker, Wuthering Waves limited 5-star has sig reliance issues. I will say though, if you're willing to learn her, then she is one of the most powerful and unique playstyles in the game. No other character plays like her, but you'll probably go nuts after opening the menu to plan with convention and conquer with ingenuity every time you open the character screen. I think that's more so just testament to how much I play this character. A tier in the value rankings for this patch. I would be putting her in B if it weren't for Brant, who I know is a very popular character, so a lot of people will be getting him. She could move up to S if you're a really good player, but otherwise, most people aren't going to be able to utilize her to the absolute max of her potential. Great character though. 2.1 is stacked. Like, genuinely, I don't think it's possible to make a bad pull here. The only issue I can foresee is owning Brant without Changli, which isn't even that much of an issue because Brant is very much able to be his own character without her. Or a more realistic issue, owning Changli without Brant, Carlotta, or Changli Yao. Otherwise, you should be covered in terms of teammates if you're planning to pair them both together. Reynasita's power level has been super satisfactory so far, and it makes me very happy that the new units are so strong. Brant and Changli will indeed be getting their own dedicated videos, but I'd like to wait until we're closer to their time. Who will you be pulling for this patch? Echo Enjoyer, Brant Wuthering Waves, or Crosscut? Sever! Let me know down below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, I have a ZZZ second channel. Head on over and subscribe if you're interested in some fun, silly ZZZ content. I'd also like to mention that I stream on Twitch. I stream once a week, every week on Saturdays, starting from 3 PM UK time. Come along so that we can play Wuthering Waves, ZZZ, and do some other fun stuff together. Hopefully this video was able to tell you who'd get you the most bang for your Astrites in Wuthering Waves version 2.1. This has been Juice, signing out, and you know what's funny? I actually have been wanting a character with a kit and playstyle exactly like Brant's for ages now. Thank you, Kuro, for shilling the Changli agenda.